I mean, the good morning, good evening, good night in different parts of the world. Welcome to the Seasoned Scholar after 1.5 years. Probably I am doing it for another time, but I am happy that this wait was worth enough because our next guest at this program is, I mean, somebody for whom you can wait for. At that time when I was not doing any episode, I didn't know that I am going to have you at my show, sir. But let me introduce you to our audience. Today we have with us Professor Vijay P. Singh, who is a distinguished professor and the inaugural holder of the Caroline and William Leher Distinguished Chair in Water Engineering at Texas A&M University, the United States. I mean, this is a matter of pride that he's an Indian and he got his bachelor's in India. But he is a thorough engineer who has the bachelor, master, and the doctoral in engineering. And also he has done a lot of, having a lot of honorary degrees as well. He is a member of National Academy of Engineering, NAE, and also distinguished member of ASCE, a fellow of AGU, EWRI, ASCE, IWRS, IAS, WS. Actually, everybody loves him, and he loves W. W means water, and also another W is wife. You will know very soon that how a great love story is going to be unfold. Not necessarily the love story has to be before marriage, but after marriage as well, and along the life. That is what I have a little bit, what I already know before this conversation. So I can tell you that you can switch, you can remain in, and you will be knowing about that. Sir has also published extensively and in refereed journal. I mean, many people have citation 1,600. He has the papers touching around, the 2,000 marks. He has 40 books to his credit, 96 referenced book, and also handbook. His H index is 139. The Google Scholar citation is in 6-figure. So I mean, many times an I-10 is a staggering 1,200, more than 1,200. So what I would say that even if these numbers seems to be very staggering, maybe his contributions are larger than this. That's what I think personally, because since I came in this field 24 years back, so it was not like yesterday I came. I am also going to complete a quarter century in water sector or this field. But since then, I am observing, and it is a continuous name that has been coming. So the influence has been huge that I am aware of. So these numbers are, although very rightly there against his name, but his impact is even larger than that. If we talk about, some of the things, his achievements, he served as president of American Institute of Hydrology, president, and he was president of American Academy of Water Resources, Association of Water Environment Energy Society. He was president of International Society of Smart Construction Production. He was chair of Watershed Council of American Society of Civil Engineers, vice president of Association of Global Groundwater Scientists, vice president of Indian Association of Hydrologists. And I know that wherever there is a vice president, He is like just lending the name that okay, if my name can bring some reputation, authority, and to any organization, it's fine. So such kind of honorary name, and any conference or any institution where his name is attached has already gets a credibility. So that's the way he has kept his name in this sector. He has served as editor-in-chief of several journals as well, and been in editorial board of more than 40 journals and 3 books series. He has given more than 2 invited seminars, and he was ranked by GPS Scholar #1 in hydrology and #1 in drought in the world. Where research.com has ranked him #2 in hydrology in the world and #13 among all earth scientists. He has guided 65 PhD scholar and master student and examined 180 plus PhD dissertations. That also tells his contribution to the scholarly society, because publishing paper is one thing, producing PhD scholar is one thing, but reviewing paper and reviewing thesis are also the service to the society. And many times I see it is not being done very religiously or very, the priority. People wait for a year for thesis to be evaluated is a little bit one thing that I would like to talk on the subject with our guest today. But I am very happy to tell you that he is nearing 200 thesis referee. He has been the referee of more than 200 thesis. Apart from that, he has been doing a lot of things to give it back to the society. So several philanthropic activities are there. He founded GB School in 1994. Very soon we'll know what the GB means. But the matter of fact is that he opened this school in his native village in the district of Agra. And this school imparts education to children in rural Agra, and he has been bearing most of the expenditures involved in the operation of a school, including the cost of building construction, staff salaries, furniture, maintenance, management of a school, and so on. The school now has four campuses: primary school, inter college, degree college, industrial training centers, and so on and so forth. I mean, if I will keep giving the introduction, then we'll have no need to talk. So we need to start. I think with this brief introduction, welcome here, sir. And thank you very much for sparing time.
Thank you.
So today we are going to know about your life, and this will have the 3 sections. So let's start with the section 1. I just want you to tell me your childhood.
I was born in a village, very small village, about 30 to 35 kilometers south of Agra. The name of the village is Ningla Vishnu. And everybody in the village, not only my parents, but virtually all families in the village are essentially farmers. They were farmers, even now they are farmers. So in a sense, I was born in a farming family. When I was born, there were no schools in my village or in nearby villages. There was one school which was about 5 kilometers away from my village. And at that time, because of lack of schooling facilities, I essentially studied at home up to 3rd grade. And during those days, a child has to pass district board examination in the 5th grade before the child will be eligible to get admitted into 6th grade. So in my school, there was an inter-college in my village, not a school, in my village or near my village, about 1.5 kilometers away, but in the name of my village. There was and there is an inter-college. But
Mhm.
there the education was only from sixth grade onwards up to 12th grade. So because we did not have any school, as I said, in my village, and there were no schools in nearby villages, there was only one primary school within an area encompassing nearly 18 villages. And that primary
Mhm.
school was 5 kilometers away. So for that reason, I was schooled up to third grade at my home. And then fourth grade, I had no choice except to go to primary school because I had to take district board examination. And that would be possible only if you were registered in a government primary school. In order to get into fifth grade, you first had to go and get admitted in the fourth grade. So for that reason, actually, I not only myself, but also other children my age from my village, we all got registered in the primary school, which was 5 kilometers away. And at that time, actually, there was no well-defined pathway from my village to the primary school. So we used to actually go through the field. And during the rainy season, sometimes the fields were pretty much filled with water. So we will just walk either through the fields filled with water, or we will walk over the bunds, because usually farm holdings are pretty small and they are normally, the fields are diked. Normally, not always, but most of the fields are diked. So during the rainy season, we'll walk over the dikes, and or in Hindi we call med. So, and this is how we used to go. But at that time, for some regions, if I recall correctly, we did not really feel that the school was too far away. We'll just run in the morning 5 kilometers, go to school, attend the school for 6, 7 hours, and then come back home. And also, those days the schools were for 7 days a week. No, six days a week. Only Sunday the schools were closed. And then, of course, so I
And
did
on
three
Saturday also full day.
Saturday full day. Yes, there
And
was
it
no.
was 10 a.m. to 4.
No, it was actually, it all depended on the season. During the winter season, the schools will start at 9 o'clock and
Mhm.
they will run through 4 o'clock. And during
Mhm.
summer months, the school will start at 7 o'clock and run
Yes.
through 1 o'clock because it was just too
Yeah.
hot.
Yes. Yes.
There was no electricity, so there were no
Mhm.
fans, there was no
Mhm.
air conditioning facility. And even now in most schools, actually there is no air conditioning facility in any way. But coming from a village, not having any facilities at home either or in the village, we
So
didn't
we
really
are talking about just
the 50s.
pre-independence India. I am happy
No, no,
to inform you
no.
that no, no, just a minute. Is
Yeah.
that I am happy to inform you that you are born pre-independence.
Yes, I was born in
Yeah. So, but you are
1946.
talking about post-dependence, your
Yes,
education.
yes.
Uh, but I share you we have the common date of month. I
Yeah,
mean I
right.
am also July born. You are
Yeah.
also
Uh,
the July born. So we are just for the context. I am telling that we are talking about this is 50s.
yes,
That
yeah,
the yeah. So
yeah.
this is
It's
like
a
in your 50s. When India was in 50, so 56, so this is 10 years after independence. Yes.
yes, right. And so basically, then we, I passed fifth grade in the basically through the district board, and then got
So
admitted.
here we are missing one information is that how many siblings do you have? And your father was
My father was a
how
farmer.
is he was a farmer?
I had 7 brothers and 3 sisters, so we were a
And
large
what is
family.
your number?
And my number, I'm exactly in the middle.
Exactly in the
So,
fifth one.
yeah, almost. So basically, I had 3 elder brothers and 2 elder sisters.
Okay.
And at that
Um,
time, my eldest sister, they were all married. I don't know. I don't remember their marriage. Maybe I was not even born or if I
Okay.
was born,
So,
I
I
must
mean,
have been
your story is reminding me this Newton, who was the youngest children of their
no,
parents. And
no,
if
but
he would have been not, and he has also several siblings, and but his birth has led to the lot of things, a good change. Yeah.
so
So
up to,
you and so what? How was your sibling in their study?
well, I come from a pretty educated family. My eldest brother really only studied up to intermediate class, which is 12th
Mm-hmm.
grade, because there were no other facilities except except in the nearby Agra city, which was too far by old standards, and also the education was too expensive.
So
So my
your village is how far from Agra city, main city?
35 kilometers,
So
35
only
kilometers,
35. So one thing
only
is that,
30.
and I am just for the information of our audience that Agra is Taj Mahal, the city of
Yes.
the Taj Mahal, and it
Yeah.
is nearby. I mean the 300 kilometer from Delhi also.
Not about
So
200, exactly
yeah,
200
200
kilometers. Yeah. To
around
the south of
the
Delhi. Yeah.
yes, south of Delhi. So main Delhi. So it is. And so basically, your home was around 300 kilometers from the capital city of India.
Yeah. About
That is Delhi.
200, 235 kilometers to the south of Delhi.
Yes.
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 Yeah. And
And also, the second point that I want to give the context is that uh, 12th grade in 50s is a master's degree equivalency of today, if I may say. If I'm wrong, please tell
yeah,
me.
yeah, those days, there were two things which are noteworthy. First, the quality of education was quite good. And second, there was no plagiarism, there was no cheating, there was no copying, which is
There is
now
no.
a commonplace phenomenon. So I did basically, then I got admitted into sixth grade in 1956. And then 1956 or 1956, 57. And then I finished my high school in 1961 and intermediate in 1963. And then I went to engineering. But coming back to your question, my elder brother, um, he got his education all the way up. He did two MAs, MA in economics, MA in political science. He also did Vidya Visharad, and then he finally became a principal of an inter-college. But my eldest brother was not that well educated. He only passed his intermediate examination, and my father did not send him to Agra for further studies because the farmers could not really afford to send their children to a nearby city because there he had to bear expenses for boarding and lodging. Tuition was not all that high, but then the cost of living those days was not high, but the income was also very meager, especially for
Mm-mm.
farmers.
So, not only educated, but you come from a affluent family, if I would say.
Yes, yeah, because my my grandfather was a very large jamidar. He
Yeah,
actually,
landlord. Yeah.
yeah, landlord. He
Mm.
has holdings in 28 villages. So
And
he was,
you are coming from this Rajput destiny,
yes, I'm,
dynasty,
yeah,
or something? Yeah, yeah.
yes, yeah, I'm a Rajput and I come
Mm.
from a Rajput family, yes.
Mm.
And actually in my area, more in my village, 80% of the people are Rajput because if I go back about 350 years or 400 years back, only two families came from Rajasthan, uh, from an area called Sikri, which is not very far from Jaipur. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why, so basically our subcaste is Sikarwar. Because we come from
Yeah,
Sikri, so we became Sikarwar basically, but we are called descendants of Lord Rama. So our other
yeah.
subcaste name is Raghav. And so
So
they
thank
all
you very much
came.
for explaining it because I was not knowing that how does this work, and coincidentally, our forefather was also from Rajasthan, and we are also from Rajasthan. But we are told as Lakshman's dynasty. Our subcaste is Bisan.
Yeah.
I don't know that. So the four brothers of the Lord Ram, they all have the different
Yeah, they actually, because almost all Rajputs in India descended from Rajasthan, almost all, not everybody, but almost all. And depending upon which area they came from, for example, if they came from Ajmer, then mostly they were Chauhans. If they came from Jodhpur, mostly they were Rathore. If they came from, from Mewar, then they were Sisodia. If they came from Jaipur, then I think the Jaipur family were mostly kind of somewhere between Raghav and Raghav.
Okay.
So I am also Raghav. Raghav or
Okay.
Sikar was the same. And so this is how, or they were
Okay.
Tomar. So Rajputs have around 42 subcastes.
Wow.
And each subcaste actually can be traced to the place of origin. Even though now we are all spread out, but we can trace our origin to a particular place in Rajasthan. So because we are Raghav, so we came actually from Jaipur area, Jaipur Sikari area. And it all depends who we came from. I'm not very
So you were
strong.
from affluent family and your
Yeah.
parents. So any particular liking? I mean, if you go back and think about yourself, do you think that I was born for these things, or there was some different liking for studies? You see yourself a little special child?
I do not really quite know. All I know is that my grandfather, because he was a big Jamindar, he did not care for much of education, and he did not really care for getting. He has 4 children. So my father were 4 brothers. He did not really care for education of his children either, even though 3 of his sons, except my father. My father was the least educated. Others were his second son were most educated. But even his most education was only up to high school. But those days, high school was a big education.
Very high degree.
And he was the smartest of the 4 brothers. He was also a great poet. He could write poetry. Very smart. And his youngest brother, my uncle, my chacha, he only passed high school. But my father actually did not even pass 5th grade. I think even though he was very smart, he could do all kinds of calculations without using any paper and pencil, but he never bothered to study. Had been told that my father will be sent. Those days, the horses were primarily used for traveling. So my father would ride one horse, and there was another horse which will accompany. But then my father will enter into the same school that I went to, and really get out of the other door, and then come back home. And my grandfather will not say very much or will not get upset. And the net result was my father did not get much education, but for whatever reasons that I do not know, he wanted all his sons to get higher education. He wanted to make sure that even though some people were well off in the villages, but well off only in terms of 2 things: having a lot of land and having large houses. But when it came to having cash flow, there was very little cash flow.
Yes.
Because there was no, regardless of how much land you own, the land was not able to generate enough of cash flow. It will generate some cash flow only at the time of harvest.
Yeah.
The rest
I
of
have
the year,
seen this agriculture based lives, because my childhood was in village, and I saw that I hear that I heard the stories like that year there was a very good crop of chili, and because of that, your Fua, it means like the sister of
Yeah.
my father, was
Right. Yeah. Hua. Yeah.
married to very well family, something like that.
So there actually the prosperity or the family wealth or being wealthy had a very different connotation from what we have now. So even though, for example, as I said, my father had lands in 28 villages, so he was the largest landlord. Plus my own family, even now, we have 3-story haveli, 25 rooms. Yeah, but that's an indication of your wealth or being wealthy, but that doesn't mean you have a lot of cash flow. They simply
Yeah.
did not have cash flow.
No.
They had
I
little.
at
So
that
that
time,
was
just my 2 cents is that that time economy was also based on object exchange.
yes,
Not
yes,
always you need to have currency to buy anything.
right. Yeah, exactly. Bartering was quite common, and that was
Mhm.
one reason why a lot of farmers were not able to send their children to Agra for education because for education you need cash flow on a monthly basis. You have to pay
Yes.
the rent, you have to pay for food, you have to
Mhm.
pay the tuition, and so on. But in any way, coming back to the question, so really, I when I was growing up, for some reasons, even when I was sixth grade, and I met teachers who were university graduates. Some were university graduates, some had MA degrees, BA degrees, BSc degrees. I was always fascinated by their degrees, even though I had really no physical appreciation of what those degrees meant. My appreciation was only this.
No, but you are talking about when you are ninth or tenth. Only then
Yeah,
you are
no,
able
I was
to
when I
appreciate.
was sixth or seventh grade,
Oh.
when I was seventh or eighth or ninth year old. That's what I'm.
Mhm.
At that
Oh,
time,
that time
somehow
you used to admire degrees.
I always had an admiration for the people who were even 1 or 2 classes higher than I was in. I always thought that this person must know everything, which was which was far from true. But as I went through the college, then finally got into engineering, and then of course, so this is how. But I was reasonably good in the studies, so I wanted to
No, so
study.
I was, yeah, so I mean, the that's very normal that you are going to be, if you are not good in education, nobody will invest money. You know
Yeah.
that even parents,
Mhm.
the nowadays is yes, we want a minimum education, and for that we want to give. But those days, if a child is not little bit, that studious, who will send? It was very easy to ask
Yeah.
to get married and settle
Yeah.
and look
Yeah,
after the
settle down
farming.
in the village and look after the farm. That's true. But in my intermediate, we call intermediate school, SMTD Inter College. That's the name of the
Mhm.
school, which was established by a saint who who abandoned eating food. He lived all his life only on milk. That's why his name was Dudadhari Inter College, and that was the only inter college within a very large area. So we used to have students come from Rajasthan, from Madhya Pradesh to study at the college. But unfortunately, in lower classes, the teachers were not very well educated. For example, when I entered into sixth grade, that was the first time I saw English alphabets. And the teacher who taught me was only a high school teacher, and he was
Mhm.
just a physical education teacher. He was Mr. Verma, who himself did not know English at all.
So
And
English alphabet you have seen when you were how many years old?
when I was in sixth grade, so I must be 11 years old,
11, 12,
11,
yeah,
12
10,
years
11.
old.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the first time I saw, but that's okay because everybody was in the same boat.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so in the
in
sixth grade, we saw the English alphabet, we saw the English book, but the tragedy was that the teacher who taught us English did not know English at all. But somehow or other we managed. And then in the seventh grade, again, we were taught by a teacher who was intermediate. In the sixth grade, the teacher was only high school. That also, I think he passed high school in that division. He was a physical education teacher. In the seventh grade, we were taught by a teacher who had only intermediate education, and he did not know much English at all. Fortunately, in the
okay.
eighth
So
grade,
what I was thinking is that, like, if you have to say that you were a curious child, you used to break the toys and look what is inside that. Do you remember such kind of incident? Or
no,
so what
no,
kind of
no,
child you were? If you
no.
like now you can, although we forget many things, but I remember that even in my high school. I was very like peace loving person. I will come to school from school and go to some corner and read some stories book or do my homework. So I was enjoying being with books. That about myself.
No,
So what about you?
in my case, we did not have any books. We had only books that we had to have for our studies in the courses or in the classes that we were taking. There were no books available at home. Unfortunately, we had some books in the library, but the library was all the time locked, and only the teachers had access to the library. It was very strange. Even the newspapers, the school used to subscribe to newspapers, but the newspapers were read only by the teachers. We did not have access to the
Uh,
teachers. But I, in I did my work that I was told to work. And those days, the teachers, however good or bad they were pretty dedicated. So they would give homework, and I was always quite, right from the beginning, I was quite punctual and disciplined in
on the
doing the
task.
work in a timely manner.
Yeah,
This is
actually, I would take this opportunity to tell the people. People may like if my kids now I recommend them to watch these episodes and they may correlate it with themselves that I tell them that look it is there is no great science in becoming a good student. You just do your homework daily
it. Yes.
and be focused in your school you and enjoy your holiday. You don't need to study in the during holidays. You enjoy your life, go after the school, play and everything. Just be sincere in the class and do your homework. It's enough.
That actually that was the style during my time. We
This is
were
still valid, sir. That's what
yeah,
I meant to say.
we were actually we I don't think I have ever missed a single class in my life, even if I was sick. I don't think I have ever
Yeah,
missed it.
and in my
Always, yeah,
school days, there was a award for regularity.
yeah,
So if and the winner, like there are 10 students who is coming every day,
yeah.
not a single absent.
But those days, missing classes was abnormal. Most students would come to school and they will come to classes on time, regardless of how early the class was or how late it was. So missing class was pretty
Yeah, pretty bad.
abnormal. Yeah,
It
it was
comes
pretty bad.
under.
So and also doing homework in a timely manner was pretty normal. So I always did my work in a time. So whenever we returned home from school, we'll eat a little bit and do our homework, and then we will play. So we used to play a lot in
But
the mornings, in the evening.
do you think, because generally this talk is more focused for scholars and higher degree people, either taking the degree or being in academic positions or scientist position. But because this opportunity arises, the what do you think for a child of 60s or a child of 80s or a child of now, if we take these 30 years of experience, what kind of change do you think? That don't you think that nowadays there are so many distractions which we were not exposed to?
I think, my feeling or my observation has been that yes, in the Western countries, even in India, I think somehow or other they seem to be missing the boat. And what I mean by that is they are not emphasizing things that should be emphasized in the early part of a child's
Right.
education. And that is because there are certain things which constitute the foundation.
Mhm.
Foundation for education. And the foundations are first, a child should be good in expression in communication, meaning language. Second, a child should be good analytically, meaning a child should be good in mathematics. And third, a child should be good also in science. Science is something that should be an integral part of our daily life. These are the three things that should be emphasized. All other things children can pick up at a later stage. But mathematics is something that cannot be picked up at a later stage. The art of communication, meaning languages. And by language, I mean primarily two things. First, the ability to communicate in writing and
Speaking.
verbally speaking. And third, the ability to muster rich vocabulary. People must
Yeah.
have a good vocabulary and they must learn grammar. Grammar is the foundation of a language.
Mm.
So let me reverse now. Grammar, vocabulary, then communication, writing and oral. This should be emphasized regardless of what language you pursue. For example, I see when I go back home or when I talk to my fellow Indians, even in the United States, I find even though they come from the same state that I come from, Hindi speaking state, they can hardly speak Hindi properly and they can hardly speak English properly. And I think it is not that they are not smart, they are very smart people, but they have not been taught what they should have been taught from the beginning. Now, I was not taught properly myself, but I made it an effort to learn on my own. As I told you, I was taught English by very poor teacher. They themselves did not know English. And I thought if I want to go for further study and being a student of science, I have to master the English language. And for mastering the English language, I must master English grammar. I must have a rich vocabulary. And I must learn the art of communication, writing and speaking. And I'm not saying that I'm a master of English language because I'm not. I wish I was, but unfortunately, coming from a village background, not having the right environment and so on, I did the best I could. And it could have been a lot better if I had the opportunity. But coming back to the questions you were asking about my background before going into engineering, so I did my 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th. But there are a few things which I learned and which I have ever since practiced. First, you have to work hard.
Yeah,
And
no replacement.
you have to work hard. And in order to work hard, you have to be disciplined. Hard
Mhm.
work, diligence, and discipline are like right hand and left hand. And you must do things in a timely manner. Punctuality is something which I like, and I don't like people to be, doing dilly-dally or not being late. It
Mhm.
frequently happens. Maybe sometimes always happen when I when I teach a class, I'm the first one to reach the class.
Mm.
Usually it happens. I'm the first one because I hate to be late and I hate for others to be late. I just don't like this. And
Yeah. That is
this is
minimum.
something which I learned even when I was growing up before I went into engineering. And of course, this was reinforced when I went into engineering. So there is no substitute for hard work. You have to work hard if you
Yeah,
want
so
to do well.
I will come on that section when I will specifically ask you
Yeah. Okay.
to give
Yeah.
suggestions to
But anyway, so
everybody.
I did my basically high school and intermediate, and then I
Mm.
went into engineering. So that is in a nutshell, a short
Yes, so
journey of my
but
life.
I will make it little bit more, that you will find the questions like I told you that whether you had certain characteristic that you can see at that time you didn't know that why it is coming, but it was deeply rooted, and that led it to become this professor or this big legend. So. One was like you told that you had this appreciation of that degree or appreciation of anybody, even one class educate more degree with
I
you,
have
and that I appreciate because the that also we are somewhere it is decreasing. It is the respect for let's suppose PhD is one. I also have PhD. You also have PhD. But that does that mean that I am equally experienced like you, or does it like so the appreciation of this experience of like this person have something which I don't have, and even like in Mahabharata or in Ramayana, we hear that there were appreciation. Ram is telling to Lakshman, go to Ravana and see that what is Ravan, and go to see that what can he teach you. The appreciation of Arjun for Karan, or appreciation of, I mean, knowledge has been always appreciated in every the yug or every time span. That appreciation for knowledge or respect for knowledgeable person is little bit decreasing. That I would take your the quick comment on that, but because you are running a school for so long time, and because we are talking about childhood, and you have very rightly given me a good insight that a child should be good in communication, analytics, and then science, and then you have bifurcated the communication or language part. I was like, my father had a very strong belief on this language or communication part. Like I was worried, like my son has become like class three. Every of his classmates are speaking English fluently, but he is not. My father was saying that, look, how did I made you this way? Is that just one language command is enough. Just generate a command on one language and learn it in that language. You will. Rest of the thing is translation. So, I mean, do you think that kind of thinking is still there or not? So, I have given you two questions. One about the teacher respect or the education respect that is I took from your life. I talk about this the childhood, like any particular language. People should not be subconscious that, oh, I don't know English or Spanish. One language mastery, and then you learn everything, and then later on the translation. Then and uh, third portion was about your I was asking about what I forgot. You go about this the two question first.
I think I I tend to agree with your father's position. As long as you are excellent in any one language, you will do well in life. But you have to be excellent. This is even this century, despite all the degradation that we are witnessing all around us, this is a century which respects excellence. Even though even though money has taken over knowledge. I remember when from 6th grade to 8th grade, I learned Sanskrit a little bit. Fortunately, our Sanskrit teacher was not very good in somehow other Sanskrit, even though we were taught, but did not receive the respect that it deserved. And I wish I had learned Sanskrit more. But I learned one sloka I will recite you, which I think made an impression on me. It says, Nachaur Haryam, Nacharaj Haryam, Nath Bharat Bhajyam, Nach Bahar Kari, Vyaye Krite Vardate Eva Nityam, Vidyadhanam Sarvadhanam Pradhanam. So even though those days, Vidya as a wealth is considered supreme because it cannot be stolen by a thief, it cannot be taken away by a king, it cannot be divided by brother, and also it defies the laws of mathematics. Because as more you share, the more it grows. The more you divide, the more it multiplies. So this is the only wealth that defies the laws of mathematics. That is why knowledge is considered the supreme wealth. That made an impression on me when I was growing up, during my Sanskrit classes. I wish I had learned Sanskrit more from the beginning. Unfortunately, when I entered into 9th grade those days, you had to choose a particular track. So I wanted to take Sanskrit. But my teacher said, you are a Rajput boy. Why are you want to learn Sanskrit? You are not going to become a Pandit. You will become a scientist or you will become an officer in the government. Sanskrit has no meaning. You take another subject. So I think, and now I don't remember, I think I took history. No, I think I took economics or history because you had to choose one optional. So besides the track courses in English and math, of course. And that was a grave mistake on my part, now I feel. And so anyway, I did high school and intermediate, but I still feel that I should have learned Sanskrit more and I should have learned mathematics more. Even though in engineering we learned mathematics, but our level of learning was relatively limited. So I tried to learn on my own, and except that I did not learn the language of my own, that is Sanskrit. English, yes, I tried to learn on my own, and that helped me in my profession. Mathematics also, because of my own learning, helped me quite a bit in my professional pursuits. And which was the other question? So
the other question was that if about that I forgot also about the distraction that what a parent should change in this era. Don't you think that now now the children are exposed to more and more distraction and how to?
I think, yeah, I think that, the environment is such that it is the school which produces these distractions. So there is not whole lot parents can do. Parents have difficulty keeping track of their children keeping with the schoolwork. First, I see the kids in their backpack on their bag filled with books and other material. During my time, we had, we also
E-books
used to have a backpack. We used to call this basta. It was a cloth bag, but we had only few small books, and there were no other obligations except for studies as far as the school was concerned. Now these days in the school there are so many activities, sports activities, music activity, many other activities which basically distract a child from studies. So the net result is the child is extremely busy and is not able to do as well as the child is capable of doing. In our case, our main focus was studies. That's it. Not that we were not playing or we were not engaging ourselves in game. I used to play hockey. I used to play volleyball. Then we will come home. We used to engage in village sports like kabaddi, depending upon or jumping or wrestling, depending upon the season, rural areas, the sports culture is linked with the season. So depending upon the season, our sports will change.
Play the game.
And
Yeah.
you know, and so we used to play, but during the summer months, 1.5 or nearly, I think those days we were having only 1 month of, which was the month of June. We were all, but we used to enjoy, we used to play, but there was no studying or anything. There were no school obligations, but these days there are just too many obligations. So even though the parents can emphasize some of these things, but it is the schools that have to cultivate that culture. And look, let's first focus only on learning knowledge, earning knowledge, which is not being there. Look at American universities. The football, basketball, volleyball, and especially in baseball, especially football, basketball, and baseball, have taken over essentially the culture of studies.
Yeah.
And you know, and so what can parents do in that case? In India also, our whole culture has become cricket culture. All other sports basically have been dominated by overwhelmingly by cricket culture. Everybody now, if I go to my village, I go to my village frequently. In all seasons, you see the children playing only cricket. They have completely forgotten the local sports.
Yeah,
Completely
so
forgotten.
seasonal game, I mean, my point is that many times I do not want to sound very critical about cricket because at least in some game we are making World Cup and all that. But the point is that our glory related to hockey is gone.
But
Kabaddi through this kind of premium league is now coming up. But let's suppose if I ever played a football or hockey, my liking towards that will be different. So my point is that if in school you let them enjoy even for a year or two, they played briefly for certain games, they will be able to appreciate that much better.
But we actually, during my time, we had schools up to 4 o'clock. After 4 o'clock, then
Only
there
play
were
4 to 6.
then on the school grounds we used to play for
Yeah,
let's say
we are licensed to play. At that time, if I will not go to play, my parents will ask, "Are you well or not?" You cannot avoid
So
playing.
we used to play, but the playing, but every child considered playing only as a matter of entertainment and recreation, not as part of their daily school life. And so I used to play after the school at 4 o'clock, depending upon the season, we will play volleyball. We will play not basketball, but volleyball we used to play. And I used to play hockey, and we used to play soccer.
I would, in my long-term memory, sir, I just wanted to tell you is that in my now I am, in a few years I will be 50s, but but the point is that still I remember those time when after play or before play, there were some conversation between friends. And after play, like we are very sweating and we took the cloth on our soldier and then walk on the roads or come back. And while that, there was some talk. Those conversation, or I don't remember conversation, but those moments has been imprinted on my long-term memory.
No,
I can still recall it very fresh. I go my village and I recall those that thing.
No, but you are right. We used to do that, but all of us understood that was only for entertainment. That was not a primary. That was not at the cost of study. And even when we would come home, for example, during the winter season, the days were shorter. We will come home. Then we will also play amongst ourselves. Early in the morning before we will go to school, because the schools will start at 9 o'clock or 9:30. Then we will play kabaddi for a little while for half an hour, 1 hour. We'll get ready, eat, take our lunch and run to the school.
Yeah.
And but
So
the
actually,
focus was primarily on study.
yes. I mean, we both are a very good in a conversation and memorizing. We can keep on talking on this issue for 2 days. I need to just go to
Yeah.
and we are not finishing the journey and motivation. So first, very quickly, I am telling you that telling the authors that whatever we talked, authors means like listeners or my audience is that sir we have just covered around 21 years of his life when there was like 46 born and 67 graduated. The bachelor degree from the Pantnagar University. And is it, I think, a alumni like you have given the Pantnagar that cult or a status or reputation. Am I right? If I would say so.
And that I wouldn't say it, or it's hard for me to claim that credit.
But do you know some more other alumni of your stature from Pantnagar University?
No, I think Pantnagar is a pretty big school, and in College of Agriculture there are, I do not know, because I'm not from that college. I only know people from College of Technology. But there are people from College of Agriculture who have made a name for themselves as well as for the university. The same thing might be true with College of Veterinary Medicine. The same thing might be true with College of Basic Sciences and Humanity, the College of Home Sciences. In College of Technology, again, there are different avenues by which
Yeah, different
people.
avenues. So we are
Yeah,
talking about one stream. But
right. Yeah.
my
So
point is
today,
that why did you select Pantnagar? Whether it was fate or you just
no, I think it was just a matter of a stroke. It was a stroke of fate. I think okay. I did not even know, coming from the village, if there were engineering colleges in India, because my knowledge base, and for that matter, our
yeah,
knowledge
that is
base
also.
was only limited to what we learned from the books and what you were taught in the class. That's it. Beyond that, we had no other knowledge because there are no other avenues for earning knowledge. There were no radio, there were no newspaper, there was
Knowledge,
no
or
other.
I would say information. Information. Knowledge we
Well,
were
but
learning as a student, but
yeah,
information like which university we can apply and
no,
those
but we
things.
had we had no idea. Our idea
Mm.
was that because my elder brother went to Agra, so I'll
Yeah,
also go to
those
Agra.
were the sources. And
That's
that's
it.
why that time it was a saying that
So,
अगर बड़ा बन जाएगा तो सब बन जाएंगे. If
um,
elder will be
so
successful, all
So
younger
why,
will be successful.
that's all I knew because my elder brothers, my cousins went to Agra, so I'll all go to Agra. But then when I was finishing my intermediate, then my, I would say my grand maternal uncle, not real, but from my cousin side, he was actually like a saint, but very knowledgeable. His son, he had only one son, who had also only one son, but came from a very well-educated and very high-class family. He looked like an English. He was so handsome, so white, but he gave up everything and he joined Vinoba Bhave movement. And then he used to live in a cave near Chambal River. So he came to our village, stayed with us for 2 weeks or so, and then he asked me, what will you be doing? I said, I finished my intermediate, I'll go to Agra and study BSc. He said, no, I think you should apply for engineering. I said, what is this? And where will I apply and how will I apply? By that time, then because he was knowledgeable, so he said, I think most schools, or you have to apply, then you have to compete. But I think the deadlines are just about over, but there are some schools where you can still compete. So then actually he's the one who gave me the name of Pantnagar. He said there is a Pantnagar and also there is Naini in Allahabad. And he knows some people at both places, but he will have to pass the test. So I said, that is okay. So I sent applications at both places. They said, now you'll have to come, you'll have to pass the test. So I said, okay, I went and passed the test, and this is how I got into engineering at Pantnagar.
Great.
But then because when I learned that, then I met a friend of mine who was studying engineering in Allahabad. So then I asked him, he was 1 year or 2 years senior to me. Then I asked him, what will I do? What is this engineering all about? He said, in the first year, you'll have to learn physics, mathematics, and English, and surveying, and engineering drawing, and statics, which I never heard of. He said, okay, I have.
So you joined the civil engineering?
At that time, there was no civil engineering. At that time, there was only agriculture engineering in College of Technology.
Okay, so you joined agriculture engineering, and just for the information of audience, your project was a kind of concrete and clay channels. So not directly related to hydrology.
Yeah, because then it became actually then when I was in third year, it became a full-fledged college of engineering. So it became civil engineering, electrical, mechanical. Anyway, so this is how I got into engineering. But before I went to Pantnagar, because we had about a month and a half of holidays, summer after I finished my intermediate, and this friend of mine gave me a large book on calculus, which I never heard of. Those days, calculus was not taught in the 12th grade. So I said, can you tell me a little bit about this, and then I can work on my own. So he told me how to do integration, what differentiation is. So basically I finished the book, half the book on my own. Once he gave me a small hint. So that helped me. So when I went into engineering, and of course, I always liked mathematics. So, and the entire first year, you had to take mathematics, particularly calculus, then differential equation, and you have to take statics, you have to take engineering drawing, you have to take physics, chemistry, like 7 courses you had to take in the first year, because I had already done some calculus on my own. So for me, mathematics became very easy. But anyway, this is how actually I ended up being at Pantnagar, but I really liked the place, and I liked the university, I liked the teacher, and that changed my life.
Yes, I can see that after that it would have been easier because you have now access to the gateway to the world. But still, because 1967 you have completed your graduation, but still going abroad for masters is special, because going abroad for PhD, I would say, is that somebody who decided consciously that I need to go to higher education, I will give fair chance that they may decide to go to abroad. And but you went abroad for masters. Why? Why so early awakening came?
And there were two things. First, Pantnagar was the first university which was established on the land grant pattern, which was common in the United States, which means it was established in collaboration with the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. And we had some American professors on campus.
Wow.
And in College of Engineering also, we had an American professor. Actually, my first course, engineering orientation, was taught by an American professor by name of Professor Ralph C. Hayes. I could not understand even one word of what he was saying.
At that time, their pronunciation.
He was, I think, about 6.5 feet, 7 feet tall. And I think I would barely touch his shoulder. And I would sit on the front row, in the front row. And I would try to tune my audible and listen to him very carefully, but I could not pick up even one word for a month and a half. One word. I said, I don't understand. And I said, I don't know. How will I manage this class? Fortunately, these American professors were very organized, unlike some of our Indian professors. He was very organized. He will distribute cyclo-style notes. I don't know whether you have heard of term
No.
cyclo-style.
But I understand it
Cyclo-style,
is a elder brother of photostat.
yeah, elder brother of Xerox machine. They were all blue, and he will write and give. So examination was not a part because this course was very simple for me. I will, I'll do all the problem. That was not the issue. The issue was I was always afraid if you would ask me a question, how would I answer? How would I answer in English? First of all, I wouldn't even understand. But after a month and a half, then I got used to his accent. Then it was quite easy for me to follow him. And of course, he did not ask any questions. So really the point I'm making is that because the university was in collaboration with American universities, American professors were there, and those days these American professors were so powerful that they could admit a student right there without having a student go through all these TOEFL tests and GRE tests and so on and go through the admission procedure, nothing. He will simply write a letter, you are admitted, and I'm offering you assistantship. He will just by handwriting, and that will be true. Not anymore. But anyway, so I told myself, if I have to study, I should study abroad. And that is really, it was the environment at Pantanagar that motivated me into going abroad. And I thought if I have to go abroad, I might as well do masters and do a PhD, and then I will come back home in India because after all, those days mobility was very limited, and going abroad was almost unthinkable. And then getting settled down abroad or working abroad was beyond imagination. But somehow the things started falling in place. But anyway, so that was really the reason I went abroad.
Yeah, I mean, here I was going through your CV and your pedigree of the education, and I saw that you have done masters with a very big name. I mean, I have read the book, if I am by Erwin. So how did you got your supervisors?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
one thing is that I understood that because you have seen a professor being mighty, being organized, and you it was fair for you to think that okay, my next degree is going to be there. Here I want to take one to I mean the light note that had you gone to Nanny, perhaps you would have not done masters from abroad.
It is quite likely, but also Manish, I might also add when I graduated, the job market for engineers was very good. I actually, as a teaching position at RVS College in Agra, I had admission for master's degree in IIT Kharagpur, and I could have gotten a master's degree admission in IIT Delhi also. And I had a job offer at Rockefeller Foundation, and where else? I had 7 opportunities. And of course, I had I had the admission at the University of Wales. But the question you should ask me is why did I choose Canada? The reason
Yeah, I mean that's what I am saying.
okay,
I
the
don't
reason
want to have conflict with
okay, the
Canada, but
reason
I said why you how could you get this kind of supervisor?
okay, first of all, the reason I chose Canada was, I would say, very naive. At that time, as I said before, the mobility was very limited. So I applied to several universities in the United States and also in Canada. And I got admission into Rutgers, the state university, and and I applied there because some of my predecessors had gone there, and applied at the University of Illinois because some of my predecessors had gone there because I had no knowledge. We were following the footprints of our elders. Anyway, so at that time, naive as I was, I thought I should get one degree from Canada. So in that way, I will be able to see one country. And then for PhD, ultimately, I will go to the United States, which is where I wanted to go to start with. So that was the reason, actually, now foolish or naive as it may sound, but that was really my logic. Fortunately, I got admission along with financial support from the University of Guelph, and I chose hydrology because somehow or other I was fascinated coming from a farmer's family by soil and water. So even in my bachelor's degree, my specialization was soil and water engineering. And I thought, okay, soil and water, but fundamental to soil and water is hydrology. And the biggest school in Canada was University of Guelph. They had a whole program of hydrology. So that was actually the reason. So when I came to, and I did not elect any other university, they get me admission. But not getting, that was the easy part. The difficult part was to get passport and visa. Passport, it took me 6 months to get the passport. And then to get visa for Canada was very difficult because they would subject an applicant to so many tests, and they flunked me in the medical test. They said, no, you have a tapeworm in your stomach and you have a trachoma in your eyes. Now, 90% of Indians have trachoma in their eyes because of dusty conditions, and they have tapeworm in their bone. This is a very normal. But Canada said, no, you have to first get yourself treated. And you have to get treated only by the medical doctors who are approved by Canadian Embassy. So this is how it took me 1 month. But the University of Guelph was so kind, they kept on extending my admission along with financial support. So when I joined University of Canada about a year, and in the interim, then I joined the Rockefeller Foundation because I had a job offer, and right in New Delhi. And the reason I accepted that job offer was not only their pay was very high and their perks were very good, but also because it was in New Delhi. So I thought it will be easier for me to go to embassy, get the visa and so on. That was the thinking in my mind that was going on. So I joined there. After 1 year, then I came to Canada. Even though I was offered assistantship and admission by the director of the school, Professor Ayers, but he said, now you talk to this professor, that professor, and see who will be willing to provide you guidance. So I met actually 3 professors. So the first one was Professor Irwin, second one was Professor Dickinson, and third one was Professor Stephen. He wanted me to work in photogrammetry, surveying, and somehow or other that did not appeal to me very much. But Professor Irwin was working in drainage, and Professor Dickinson was working in hydrology, and he had done a PhD from Colorado State. This is how I ended up at Colorado State. So this is how I ended up working with Professor Irwin, who was very good. He was actually the main drainage person in Canada. So this is how even though my thesis was not on drainage, my thesis was on soil moisture modeling for rainfall modeling, and that was guided by both Irwin and Professor Dickinson. So this is how it was not entirely my choice. Because those days I did not even know if I had that choice. They took me and they told me what to do, and which is what I did.
No, master degree is supposed to be that way. Actually, I do tell my students and other fellow also whenever I have interaction that the difference between master and PhD program is the problem. A PhD scholar should never be given a problem by the supervisor. Guide them, give the hint to them, but never give the research question, research hypothesis. I know that during my PhD 1.5 years, I spent wondering that what to do, what is the exact question and what is not done, what is I mean, what is the lacuna? Actually, the finding lacuna was, and so I wanted to do on a watershed modeling, then I went to groundwater, then I end up with doing the diffuse pollution control and heavy metal speciation and so on and so forth. So, but they didn't tell me that, look, this is my project and I am searching this question and I have funding to PhD. No, never. So that time when I was bored, I was like, look, this is not right. Please help me what to do. So then they told, no, the point is that a master student should be given the problem. You can tell them, but how they will navigate, they will do by themselves. But a PhD scholar should not be given. But nowadays, a PhD scholar is always getting such kind of hint. And so they end up with not finding a real problem when they become a standalone researcher. Right. So I mean, so this is a appreciation, or this is what I have. Let's move to the PhD one. Why? After I understand that, although because if your father, I also give credit to your parents because they allowed you to go to the country, and so here they ask you to first get married, and then go.
No, no, they actually, actually, they wanted me to get married. I said, no, I don't want to get married because, marriage might come in the way of my studies. And first, I want to complete. I want to get as high a degree as I possibly can, and then I'll get married. So my father said, he would prefer that I get married before I go abroad.
You
because
could
he was
save yourself when you went to the
yeah.
master.
I think
But
also he had a concern, not personally, but I think primarily because of relations and his fellow villagers, that I might get married
yeah, married to some English.
to a white girl.
Yeah.
And that might be a disaster for my family, based on the thinking at that time. And of course, he never expressed those apprehensions, but I could almost sense. And I said, don't worry, everything will be fine. But I will not get married, period.
Okay, so by the time you reached, you completed master. So I appreciate two things: is that you didn't fall in the trap of like having a job, and also you went ahead and you saw the world. And by master degree, you were very subconsciously mature that what you are going to do. So you went to Colorado State University, and during PhD, what I see is two things. One, just immediately you went there, doing PhD. So why you choose Colorado, and how it happened?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Actually, when I was finishing up my master's, my advisor, Professor Dickinson, had a slot for me to continue for a PhD. And he said, then I will be able to finish PhD within 2 years because I will just continue the same problem. But I had in my mind that I will do my PhD from the United States. So I did not accept that offer, but I did apply to University of Michigan, University of Wisconsin, Stanford University, University of Illinois, and Colorado State. And I had admission and support from all of these universities, except Stanford said we will provide support after one semester. I said, look, who will support me? I'm a foreigner. I cannot, Stanford is a very expensive school. I cannot. Professor Lindsley actually was willing to offer me support. And Professor Ernest Prater from University of Michigan, actually, he called me. He said, why don't you come to Michigan? I said, Michigan is too cold a place for me. I have already lived for little less than 2 years in Canada, which is too cold for me. I'll go to Colorado. And the reason I chose Colorado State was two reasons. First, my advisor at Guelph had graduated from Colorado. So he spoke very highly of Colorado State. And of course, Colorado State at that time had the largest water resources program, perhaps in the world, certainly in the United States, perhaps in the world. There was a huge program. So I chose Colorado State for that reason. And I thoroughly really enjoyed. It's almost in the middle of the country, and also it reminded me of Pantnagar because Fort Collins is right at the foothills of the Rockies. And
Yeah, I love this place, Colorado, but it means that you must be very cold resistant.
it
You can
was,
be a very
Fort Collins is not very cold.
okay.
It gets cold for about a month.
Okay.
But outside of that 1 month, the weather is really very nice. It's very
Okay.
pleasant.
Now I will be talking more about the part B, where we are talking about little bit philosophy and lessons. So, question starts from here. Is that what is the what is the calling of doing PhD? Sometimes although I do not say that I really believe that, but many times people end up with PhD because there is no opportunity encountered during that time until these days, these 2 decades or 3 decades. I'll be very honest, I never thought that I will do PhD. I didn't even think of doing masters because I was thinking that it is too much study that will be needed to be done. And PhD is like, we always think like I will have a beard and I will be very, very much. But when I came to JNU and saw that, oh my God, this job has a world appeal, you become global citizen and your paper publishes. Oh, the name appears in Google. That was one of the like on internet. I will not say Google, but your name appears on internet. So that is the makes me the go about this one. So what do you suggest that what should be the calling one should get for doing PhD these days?
In my own case, I was, as I said, I was always fascinated by the degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I was growing up, when I was in high school or intermediate or doing my undergraduate degree, I always wanted to become an academic, a faculty member.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to get into a government job where most of the time we are pushing the papers, even though in engineering, people do a lot of good engineering work. But I was more interested in actually studies. I was more interested in academia. And in academia, if you want to become a good academic or you want to rise high, you have to have the basic requirement is having a PhD degree. But more importantly, I just wanted to get as high a degree as I can. And that was one reason that even after PhD, I did my DSc. And if there was another higher degree, I'll do that even now. So that was one reason. Second thing is I like a university life. And
Yeah.
university life has a very, in terms of monetary compensation, it may not be the best paying job, but the quality of life in my mind is very high. There is no other life which comes even halfway close to the universe quality life that you enjoy as an academic. Second, for my advice to young people who want to pursue PhD is they have to first define what exactly they want to achieve in life. If their goal is, which is what is for the most part, for most youngsters, is to make money, then there is no particular reason for them to pursue a higher degree, even though even even in the area of making money, if you have a higher degree, you come out
You will
ahead.
make more.
You will make more money. But at the same time, if your interest is only in making money, you don't want to go to the rigor of pursuing higher degrees because it requires a lot of discipline, a lot of time commitment, a lot of hard work, and which may not necessarily be paying off. So I think those who want to pursue an academic life or not necessarily in a university, but even a kind of quasi-academic life, even in the private sector, for example, in IBM, in Microsoft, in Google, they have research divisions where people have PhDs. Almost everybody has a PhD. and they engage in research. So theirs is also a more or less like an academic life outside the university. And only those people who are interested in that kind of pursuit should really pursue a PhD degree. Otherwise, there is no sense. And now, of course, as I said, in my mind, my philosophy is, of course, even my own children did not follow my philosophy. My philosophy is knowledge is for the sake of knowledge. Learn as much as, earn as much as you can. Knowledge is not for earning money. Knowledge is for earning knowledge. Makes you a better person, I think. And certainly it helps you make a better person. So pursue as much studies as you can, earn as high a degree as you can. These days, the degrees are a mark of knowledge. In some ways, if you have a PhD, people think you are very knowledgeable, at least in the area in which you have pursued a PhD degree. So to some extent, it's a good metric of your knowledge. And earn as much as you can. And after that, you have a whole life to make money. So I suggest everybody, even those who want to work in private sector, to get higher degrees, as higher degree as they possibly can. Even in the private sector, if you have a PhD, even if you are not making a whole lot higher money, you will have at least more respect than others not having a PhD degree. So I'm strongly in favor of higher study and higher degrees.
Basically, I was looking for an answer is that there is a benefit of having a larger degree, but in Japan now people do not want to do PhD because they are considered as overqualified, and sometimes the a PhD holder will always think themselves superior, and they are not very good for teamwork. But I understand that academician and those the life and the income and the degree. But how about the competition now? Like once of course, the competition is there in every field. But do you think that if by doing PhD we categorize ourselves and then bound to face a lot of competition?
Okay. As regards your first part, I personally don't subscribe to that philosophy. I have not come across too many PhDs in academia. Almost everybody has a PhD who think that they are smarter than others or who cannot work with others. In the universities, especially these days, much of the research is done uh, by teams. So teamwork is very much emphasized. So this notion that the PhD holders cannot work as a team is in my mind is flawed. Now, second, when it comes to competition, there is a very stiff competition to get an academic position in the United States. At least I know in Canada, in Australia, it's a very stiff competition. But I always believe, and I think this is what I tell all my students and my colleagues and friends, that one
Yeah.
should not be afraid of competition.
Yeah.
If you are good, you will get a position. If you are not good, you will not be able to get a position. You may not be able to get a position at a place like MIT. I agree. But even at MIT, it's the people who are getting the position. So if others can get a position, if you are good, you can also get a position. Why should you be afraid of competition? That means it goes back to the philosophy of being excellent. Try to excel. And if you excel, you will have no problem getting a position. If you are mediocre or below mediocre, you will have a position. Having a PhD degree is not a sufficient qualification. It may be a necessary qualification, but it is not sufficient. PhD degree has to be equipped with and accompanied by high quality work. If your work is high quality, you will rise high. You will get the position that you really want. and you will get a position at a good university at one place or the other, or in a research organization at one place or the other. I have not seen, in fact, I have not seen any PhD unemployed, period.
Okay, that's nice to period it. But these days, I hear at times that competition is very much, and not only the here, but also that many people with good label, I would say that by my judgment also, and having fair amount of experience, but they are bound to work in some private universities with very low salary, and also there is no control on the salary, that how much it should be, a minimum and something like that. That is also sometimes is at least in Indian market. I am not sure about the
In,
abroad, but
in I think in
mm,
India, Manish, you are right. In India, there are two problems.
mm,
If you have a PhD in engineering from a good school, I don't think you will have any problem landing a job. But if you have
mm,
a PhD in any subject like English or history or political science or economics, you may not get a position in a government college or in a college that is well reputed. You may end up
mm,
working in a teaching college or in a college whose main purpose is to make money. That thing is there. But also at the same time, and I can attest to it because I have examined so many dissertations, of course, not outside of engineering, but talking to people outside of engineering, I find that many times in India we are producing a lot of PhDs whose dissertations are not even worth a master's degree. And personally, I myself have come across, even in engineering, and I'll give you one instance without naming the school or naming, but the
mm,
dissertation came from civil engineering department under the guidance of the head of civil engineering and a professor of civil engineering, and I can name the city from Bangalore. And this dissertation was prepared by a teacher teaching at a college. Apparently, there is some provision where a teacher can go to another school, which PhD granting school, stay there for a year or two, work under the guidance, and come back to his original or her original college for teaching and prepare a dissertation and then submit it. In which case, a professor from the college will be a guide, and another professor from the college from which the student is going to get a PhD degree will be another guide. And the dissertation came from, and for some reason they sent it to me because it was prepared under the Department of Civil Engineering in Bangalore. You will not believe it was almost like an undergraduate project. What the person did was, it was a PhD dissertation in civil engineering. What the person did was, he collected data from about 20 households on sanitary facilities. And that is it. So he did a little survey. It was a very short dissertation, I think less than 100 pages or 120 pages. But there was no engineering, there was no science, there was nothing. All that he did was he just collected the data, plotted some histograms, and tried to interpret this facility there. So, and of course, when a dissertation comes to me from India, I tend to have a very sympathetic feeling. I did not want, I'm not interested in destroying anybody's career. So I wrote a long report and I said, look, this dissertation has nothing to do with engineering. There is no engineering on any of the pages. I went through A through Z. There was no engineering, there was no science. It is based on surveying. So this should be sent to a sociology department. It should not be under the civil engineering
engineering.
department because there is no engineering here. There is no civil engineering. Just the only civil engineering is he is using sanitary facility. So
Mm,
sanitary facilities were
Yeah,
under civil case. But
so
there was no design.
the
There was no design. There was no planning. There was nothing, no analysis. So how can this be just because you are using the term sanitary does not mean it
or
is
because
purpose.
the guide and the person doing both have engineering degree, so their work is also engineering. No,
I
no,
think
no.
that was no. You are right. I think that
I
was the
mean,
reason, and so it really bothered me quite a bit. Then I think my wife was
here, sir,
driving.
I wanted to bring one the example because this is very much because many people reading your comment might be thinking that what a weird comment is that. Now he is saying this thesis does not qualify to under this domain.
Yeah,
Forget about the talking about what is in the finer lines. But this is very true. I have a science background. I am a chemistry graduate, but when I was doing PhD in engineering, in environmental engineering at Tokyo University, we have done all those speciation and everything, toxicity studies and all those aspects in groundwater infiltration study, infiltration and all that. But then after everything, my professor says, but where is the engineering? You have understood the science, but there is no engineering here. So we have to think about something of engineering nature to either evaluation for better evaluation or for better management or something, but you have to inform me these things. You have to bring. So then one chapter was I had to create for the engineering aspect of my work. Yeah, so yeah, I can totally correlate that there has to be certain thumb rule through which it should be
if the
regulated.
person had taken time to design a better sanitary facility and did the cost benefit analysis and
Mm,
had compared with existing design and shown an improvement in his design, then there is no problem. But the candidate is just doing surveying.
mm,
I mean,
okay.
surveying has nothing to do with engineering. You know, it's just like you take a political polling, it's just a polling. And
Mm,
there is no even financial analysis. And I did not want to turn it down either. You see my dilemma that I don't want to destroy somebody's career, but at the same time, I cannot be dishonest with myself. So I wrote I think 1.5 page or 2 page report, and I said, look, these things, you show me in engineering, and I also said, please do not send it back to me
mm.
because I am not prepared to reevaluate the thesis. And but this does not belong to engineering in any shape or form. And
Okay.
so, and at best, it might belong to the Department of Sociology because it's a social problem. So send it to sociology department and let them evaluate. And
No,
so
so
I,
okay. So I
I'm
mean,
sure they will not
you
have
were
liked my
talking
report.
about problem in PhD that so this is one aspect that you are saying about that the PhD quality is a little bit compromised, and that is what you mean to say. But let me ask very specifically, and you can be very crisp in right. What is your advice to someone who is yet to decide if he or she should be doing PhD?
I think, Reid, there are two types of advice normally I give. First,
To someone who is yet to start.
first, to start, the first thing I tell the student, go back to the library. I don't like Google search. Go back to the library. Read the journals for the past and start from the day and then keep going backward at least up to 50 years. Read all the literature. Spend at least a year.
Mm,
And that literature search will tell you what the key fundamental issues are that you want to really work on. But even before that, there are two ways to go around it. First, If you are interested in tackling a topic that is very hot these days, that is one thing. For example, a very hot topic these days is artificial intelligence and its application in any area you take. So then you are focused on applications, but you also have to learn artificial intelligence basics and foundations also. Go back and read all the literature as far back as you can. Because in my mind, nobody can be a master of any subject without reading the history of that subject. So since your problem, your PhD topic pertains to a particular problem, then you make sure that you learn as much history of tackling that problem as you can. So go as far back as you can. If you have to go back to 200 years back, go back to 200 years back. You will find a lot of papers only recent decades, but as you go back, you will find only few papers on any topic. Because those days, very few people were engaged in research and publishing. But at least you will have covered the entire territory. You will become a master. Then you will know what the issues are. To define the problem for doing a PhD is basically, to me, is tantamount to completing half of the degree. To define the problem means you have solved half the problem. Finding the
That's what
solution
I.
is finding the solution is not that difficult. The
Very
most
true, very true.
difficult part is to define the problem in very, very specific terms.
Yeah.
You
I
define the
mean,
problem, and then you can start working on the problem. And as I said, some people are very much interested in these days. A lot of kids are interested in computer application. Even though they are in engineering, they don't want to do engineering. They want to do computer application. I don't have any problem, but learn at least the computer applications, also the basics of computer application, like artificial intelligence application. There are a lot of things in artificial intelligence, all kinds of techniques that are coming up.
okay.
And, and so one should do that. I very much like, and I like people to focus on the foundation, the basics, the fundamentals. That means they have to learn the basic art of their science.
Basic art of the their science. Yeah, I like that word. Basic arts of their science. Actually, now I am going to invite two people. Or I would say that I have already invited two people. One is very fresh, starting PhD, and another is a little bit. I'm not say mid-career scientist or mid-career, but still I would say that this is relatively the later part of the PhD. So we have with us Dr. Durga Prasad and also Miss Shivangi Dogra. So this is a section where we invite fresh question from their own perspective. So here we take myself out of the question and try to see that variable. Okay, I will go ahead with ladies first. So Shivangi. Today we have our speaker, our guest, Professor Vijay Singh. I think you are informed about him. Do you have any specific question that you would like to ask?
First of all, thank you so much, sir, for inviting me on this platform. And it is a great opportunity to interact with sir. Sir, actually, since as sir introduced me like a freshly joined PhD scholar, so I have like 2, 3 questions related to that only. Like my first will be like, we are in a process of starting writing research papers, and we also see that some good quality of time and work has been invested in for publishing in good journals. So do you have any particular specific tips or what you implemented in your work, like in your initial phase of journey when you started publishing your work? And most importantly, what things should be avoided during this time?
Okay. Good
Now,
question.
first of
Okay.
all, your name is very pretty, Shivangi.
Thank you so much, sir.
I think, really before you do anything about publication, first you have to ask yourself, the problem that I'm trying to tackle has been solved, or the problem is an open-ended question. It has not been solved before. Now, in both cases, you can still make a contribution. The problem may have been solved, but still it is quite likely that you may be able to solve in a different way, which may be a better way to solve the same problem that has been solved before. Now, or perhaps it's an open-ended question that becomes even a greater challenge, which becomes even a greater benefit for you. So, this is something. Then, of course, you start working on it, then you start writing your results. There are a few things that you have to keep in mind. First of all, when you write, you make sure that you write the paper in a language of the audience. You do not write the paper for yourself. You write for others. You write for the referees. You make sure that you are able to write at a wavelength that they can easily read your mind. One of the problems with people who start writing the papers is that they end up writing the papers for themselves. They write in a language that is for themselves, not for the audience, not for the referees. So you make sure that you write in a way that the referee or the reader can capture what you have in your mind. The only connection between you and the reader or the referee is the paper. They have no way of knowing what Shivangi has in her mind. The only thing they have is what Shivangi is presenting. So which means your presentation should be, not only it should be logical, it should be coherent, it should be systematic, and it should be as incisive and to the point, as succinct as it can be. Avoid all kinds of duplication, verbiage, verbosity. You should avoid all this. If you have to write only, let's say, 10-page paper, let it be 10-page. Don't try to make it or turn it to a 50-page paper just because you think it is too short a paper. If you can convey your message in 5 pages, so be it. But it should be very succinct, it should be very clear, it should be very methodical, it should be very systematic, and it should not suffer from the verbiage that you normally have. Because people normally tend to write too many sentences which don't really mean a whole lot. They confuse. The more you write to convey a point, that means you are not being very precise. The less it will be meaningful. So those are some of the things that you have to, so when you write a paper, finish it off, keep it in your drawer for a day or two, and then go back and read. And you will feel as if you are only halfway familiar with your own writing. That means now you are doing a good job. So then you can read it with a critical eye and be very critical to yourself. Do not try to like what you have written. If you start writing, you cannot be good self-critique.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that I think, but at the same time, make sure that you properly credit what people have done before, and do not cite your work in every sentence or every other sentence. Even if you have done a PhD dissertation, that is fine. But do not cite it in every paragraph. Cite it only once or twice. Self-citation is highly discouraged. Do not do that. Also make sure that your style is completely consistent. Anytime your style changes from paragraph to paragraph or page to page, the reader starts suspecting that perhaps you have copied from somewhere and pasted, because your style should not change. And you make sure when you write, take a separate piece of paper and write the point. This is the way you want to cite an equation. This is the way you want to cite a literature. This is the way you want to cite a table. And make sure that you are consistent throughout the manuscript. These are small things that you have to keep in mind, but they make a very bad impression on the reader. Remember, the referee is doing a voluntary work. You do not want to create any situation whereby the referee will start developing a sense of doubt about your work and the quality of the work that you have done. So you want to avoid bombastic language. Write in a simple language. Do not use very high-powered
ornamental English.
Yeah, and also do not use too many subjective jargons. For example, say this is the most important. Just say this is important. Why do you have to say this is most important? How do you know this is most important? There is no way for you to justify that kind of language. So your language should be simple. Your language should be palatable, and your language should be very clear. There should be no confusion whatsoever. And these are some of the small things that you have to keep in mind. And of course, I reckon that it takes a while to discipline yourself mentally when you are crafting a manuscript.
Mhm.
But that's where the job of your advisor, your co-worker, essentially comes into play.
Okay.
Did I answer
I
your
think
question?
that is any follow-up thing that you want to ask?
She said she had 2-3 questions. This is
Two,
one
three
of the
questions?
Like
No,
one
no, no.
That's what she
Okay,
said in the beginning.
go ahead.
like sir told in the end, like we should seek help from the advisor. So like my supervisor is also sitting here and we seek help from sir time to time. Like, but many people say to us like just prepare everything and don't seek help that much from your advisor, because then they will have some kind of image about you that they don't know this, they don't know. So is it that much necessary that we should not go towards him that every time, please, please?
Well, I think it's a, in my case, I keep my door open to my students 24 hours a day. I give them my cell phone. I tell them you can wake me up at 2 o'clock in the night if you have a question. So don't be afraid. And the relationship between an advisor and a student is like a family member.
Yeah.
That's what I am saying.
Because of my age, I consider all my students like my children. And many of them, actually, I have 4 daughters. Besides my own daughter, my student, they consider me like their father. And I truly consider them like my daughter. And I treat them in the same way. So I think this concept of having or thinking that your advisor may think adversely about you just because you are approaching your advisor frequently, I think is not a valid concept. It's not a valid idea. That means you and your advisor had not developed a close family type relationship. That's this thinking negatively is a wrong thinking to start with.
Yeah, because we have a very friendly, like whenever we have problem, then we ask like okay at any time. But many other students which are with us, they say that like this. So like this is a huge platform, so this message should be conveyed to them.
Okay, so I think C is talking about me. I am her PhD supervisor. So I would say that you have. I am sorry to coming and intervening, but the point is that you have told it very rightly already that this is a the family, and I always say that look, this is a internally we are training. Even this morning, before you, there were a lab meeting and presentations by Sivangi. And there was I told them that here you feel free to make mistake. We are
Absolutely.
preparing. This is a where we are the product. So here we are deformation will occur, and here the person who will be more brave to have this kind of deformation being displayed or something, they are more tested and more defined because they have seen that when it is complete disaster, what happens. So this is a home kind of thing. I would also not say that the image is the most impacting imaging is honesty. You know that if salt is there, it can, if salt is or salt is very high, it will kill a very good combination of the other spices like haldi, turmeric, or all those. Similarly, some spices are very strong, like chili can change. The salt can change. Similarly, few of the things are coming first. Honesty, transparency. Okay, this person, and transparency is that you are taking people on board. I can do great things, but if I done that later part of my life, I realized that if I just ask once to my father that hey, I am thinking to buy a car, and he is so happy about it that even if he say, okay, why don't you stay one more year or something, but even if I don't hear him and I bought it, he will at least be knowing that okay, he was taken in the process of the decision making. No matter all the time I agree with him or I disagree with him, but so similarly, I think that honesty, transparency, hard working, these are have the long run impression. In long run, people forget that how often you contacted and either not contacted. It's not like I have 3 coupon and you used it and another person have not used it. So I don't think that it should be any such kind of barrier between the supervisor and the worker. Sir.
I tend to concur with you. There should be actually no boundary. There should be no barrier. There should be channels of open communication between the advisor and the student. Because remember, a student comes into advisor's life or the advisor comes into a student's life for a finite period of life. But the relationship which they develop should last lifetime.
Yes.
And in my case, I have a lot of students who are still working with me, even after 15 years of their graduation. And I tell them you can do on your own. And still they want me to work with them. And I also must say that much of the work is done by them. I don't do much of the work. I do only a little bit of maybe guidance and maybe in writing, help them out and tell them, okay, what they should do. Sometimes if they make a mistake, I might catch or I might not catch. But the reason why they work with me is because of the relationship that I developed with them. My wife was almost like a mother to them, and I'm almost like a father to them. And so so for that reason, I think we have like a family relationship. And it is because of that reason that they still like to work with me. And they check on me since my wife passed away on a frequent basis. I mean, they care for me. So the point really I'm making is that you have to develop a relationship with your advisor, and your advisor should develop a relationship with his advisees or her advisees, whatever the case may be, that relationship will last for a very long time. That is my philosophy in the case of student-advisor relationship. So
Yes.
there's a whole
So
point
this
of
is
getting
I am going to
student.
invite
Yeah.
Shivangi on more regular basis because of her good performance. She asked some critical questions and she dared to ask something very directly related to me in my program. Okay, so that's all. Let's move to Durga. Let's listen what queries.
Okay, first of all, a very good morning or good afternoon to sir, and it's really an honor to be sharing the same screen as you are hearing, and thank you, Manish sir, for giving me this chance. So, sir, as you just said that your doors are open 24/7 for your students, but my question is complementary to that because when you initially moved to US with your family, that too with your family, so
Other family, I just
find did you find any difficulty with respect to your time management? How much time were you able to devote to them in the initial phases of your career? And how did you manage it afterwards also?
okay. The first of all, when I came to the US, I was not married. I was just by myself.
Sir, after your marriage,
So,
that's why I asked
yeah,
after
and
your marriage.
after the marriage, actually, that's a good question. Actually, my wife, fortunately, of course, mine was an arranged marriage. And if I were to marry again, I want to tell all the youngsters is that I would marry exactly the same way that I married before. In other words, I would like to go for arranged marriage. This is one of the best way of getting married. Now, of course, people tend to go extreme on either side, but that is beside the point. My wife was she was very highly educated. She was one of the smartest girls. She was always a gold medalist. Of course, when she got married, I did a few things. First, as soon as we got married, I gave the keys to the house to her, and I took her to the bank and told her, from now onwards, you are in charge of everything. Don't come and ask for permission from me. You have all the accounts. You are free to spend whatever way you want to spend money. If you want to work, you are more than welcome to work. But my mother did not work. My grandmother did not work. My great grandmother did not work. And you don't have to work. I'm a very simple-minded person. So we will manage, both of us, even if we have children, we will manage within whatever income I would generate as a result of my position. So she decided not to work. She could have found a good job and earned a lot of money. But I think it is better, in my mind, to have a wife who manages the house and you manage your profession. So, which is what I did. Now, to me, balancing family life and professional life was a very simple equation. I did not have to do any balancing, period. I did my work, she did her work, and we had a very enjoyable life. She never complained. She never demanded anything. And of course, I never demanded anything either, because my father taught me when I was growing up that a successful mantra for marriage life is you give whatever she asked you and you accept gracefully whatever she gives you. So there is no point of argument and any kind of pugnaciousness or any kind of a skirmish. So we never really had any argument. And as I said, even when we had two children, I have a daughter and a son, and they were growing up, she was actually taking care of them for the most part. I did not spend much time raising them. And of course, during the weekend, because I was working 7 days a week. But I was working at my own pace. This is one of the beauties of an academic life, that you can work at your own pace, because there's something that the university demands of you to work, which is you have to teach. So teaching classes means you have to be in the classroom at an appointed time. So you have to do certain things, but outside of that, you can do whatever you want to do. And when the children were grown up, I took her all over the world. I think she saw only a few countries less than I saw. I think she must have seen more than 65 countries. I took her everywhere. And we were the only couple that was available or that was present in almost all the meeting, conferences, and so on. Anyway, so really, to me, balancing a family life is not as difficult as a lot of people portray it. The problem arises when there is not that kind of understanding between a husband and wife. To me, a wife is much more than a wife. I don't like the term wife because it's an English term which does not exactly characterize what really the role of your life partner is. To me, my wife was Sarvangini. They normally we call Ardhangini. I always used to call her Sarvangini because she took care of everything. And I took care of my work, she took care of her work. So for me, balancing is not that difficult. Balancing comes when there is a lack of chemistry in one way or the other. When there is a lack of commonality, when there is a lack of oneness. When they get married, husband and wife become one. They are two bodies, but in terms of souls, they essentially become one. And if you have that kind of thinking, then there will not be any problem at all. The problem is when there are demands. That means there are two people who are demanding of each other.
So actually, this is not a academic suggestion, but it's a kind of a suggestion on relationship. But you married after PhD or during PhD?
No. I married after PhD, and I had actually worked because after PhD, went home. My father was not able. My father had all kinds of options, but
So would you advise somebody to marry? Sorry, sir. Would you advise somebody to marry during PhD or after PhD?
No. I would very much, actually, as soon as I have my students, when they come even for masters, and I advise them to go get married.
Wow. Why?
Yes. The reason because these days the girls are very smart and they all want to work. It is better to get married when you are young. They will grow together. They'll have a much better chemistry between them. And the wives can also study, just like you can study. They will both study.
No, I am asking from man perspective. Is that because I married during PhD, and so when I went to
you are much wiser than I was.
Sorry, maybe, but the point is that, but I am able to appreciate it only for the second time since then. The first time I was able to appreciate that I am doing good is when I went to give my card to one of my teacher at JNU, and he said, "Wow, Manish, you are really doing good thing because you are starting your journey, and you are at right now. So no one, and from here you are going to get many great things. And your life partner will always feel that she knows you before you become anything." So, and that one, also I heard that Shahrukh Khan saying that I cannot pay him the money because I'm citing him. But the point is that he says that don't forget anybody who know you since you were not. So it's important phase to grow together. But what about a girl scholar?
For a girl scholar also, I would very strongly advise. In fact, a girl scholar, it is even more important that they get married early. Because that way, in that way, as I said, when you get married early, okay, but leave that aside, understanding chemistry, leave that aside. Look at practical aspect of life. When you get married, let's say when you are in early 20s, even in our Sanatan Dharma, even from a biological standpoint, the best age for reproduction is between 20 and 27. And after 27 up to 35, actually the reproduction capacity or capability starts declining. After 35 to 45, it declines dramatically, and then it may cause all kinds of complications with the children. So from a practical, that is one aspect. The other practical aspect is, remember, if you get married when you are, let's say, in 20, and you have children by the age of 24, 25, by the time you are 50, your child or your children are already grown up. That means you have at least another 20 to 30 years to enjoy your grandchildren. These days, the children get married when they are in 30s. By the time they are in their 60s, that means one of their legs is already in the graveyard. Then they will have children who will be colleges, which is completely ridiculous. So from that standpoint also, it is important to get married early. Our forebears were very smart. That's the reason they consider these two aspects, the biological aspect and the practical aspect, and recommended getting married at an early age. My brother, remember in my own family, my brother, who is only 2.5 years older than I am, he saw the marriage of his grandchildren, whereas my grandchildren are still in the junior high. And he's only 3 years old. Of course, he passed away a few months ago. But look at here, the 3-year age difference, because he got married when he was in intermediate. And then, of course, he finished his intermediate, he finished his BSc degree, and then, of course, he became a government officer. He had children by the time I got married. You see that? So that you look at the practical aspect, because as grandparent, as parents, you want to enjoy your children. Then as grandparents, you want to enjoy your grandchildren. These days, what is happening is the grandparents don't even see their grandchildren because there are no grandchildren. Or by the time they get to see their grandchildren, they are too old to enjoy them. And so from that standpoint also, so I recommend all my, of course, this is one aspect where I miserably fail. My students don't follow my advice. They follow my advice.
So good. That's why you are advising this way, because anyway, your students are failing to follow that. No,
they don't.
There is one thing is that many times one catch is that if the PhD, if 21, 23, and if somehow PhD is being finished in 20s at least, it is not crossing 30s.
I think by the time you finish PhD, you're already 26, 27, 28.
Yeah, so if 26, 27, then I would say that, okay, because nowadays you can know each other, commitment can be made later on. And childhood, I would say that the children thing should be enjoyed. Because you will have only 2 opportunity. I have created three opportunity, but I want to be fully focused if I to my children. When I want to have him or her in my life when I have I am unstable in my life and something like that. When I am committed or I am still a scholar, although I can consider myself these things, I had a children when I was doing PhD, and I followed the rule that by the time I become 50, he must be 20. And that is why I had him like that. And it's going on that equation. But anyway, this marriage issue, I never talked to any of my seasoned scholar episodes. So this is the first time.
I talk to my students all the time, but they never follow my advice.
In this seasoned scholar, we are the first time ever we are bringing this issue. And especially the interest is that the fresh PhD scholar is like being subjected to marriage, and so we are talking about this issue and very, very open. So this is very interesting that how we are talking directly but very indirectly. But yes, I mean, so those considerations can be taken care of because somehow. Yeah, so, but otherwise, marriage is the oneness that is required for marriage. Is if you got one, it is hardly, marriage is a commitment and nothing else. Is that okay? The commitment is like the legal need. The marriage is a legal need now, so the legal need when you are like ready for a children. In Mexico, I have seen that a very good. The wife is doctor. He is a post PhD. A scholar, and they have a beautiful baby and not yet married. So some world has already gone there, but in our world, if we think that now we are ready for a child, and this one, because I have seen many PhD getting disrupted because of the baby coming in the picture, and once you are married, you are less careful, and you get a baby, and then you are hindered by the somebody. I would not say hindered, but it was like time has not been counted anywhere. If you are in a job and then you are having a baby and you went to a sabbatical, at least you can count that period in a job. You can say I have a 3 years of experience, even if 2 year was for two babies. So that is the point. But anyway, Durga, do you have any last question or anything? Because your discussion has taken a lot of.
No, sir.
No,
This was
actually,
it,
this
and
is,
thank you so
I
much.
understand they have asked very questions to close to heart, because I am very thankful that these two people have not brought a ready-made questions. They have asked you the question they are really facing. I mean, I am going to increase the time and I can bring more people to this segment. Many times when I invited people, they ask very ready-made question or known questions. But what they have asked you, because Durga is here now, first time ever, very far from the family. And I think he is very close to that oneness also. But still, that phase he is facing in his life, and that's what he asked. And that phase happens to a scholar life, because we become a global citizen owing to the PhD. Our papers are being read worldwide, and then we also move. And sometimes we have this money consideration and all those things there. And Shivangi also asked the two questions. She has written some review paper, but still she has to give me the first draft of a research paper. So she has asked you the very closer question. That is what is there. So thank you very much, both of you. We had a great, I thought, 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, your screen time is. So, but still, I am not going to pay anything if I earn from this video. So this is a.
But please don't edit our screen time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
You two may
Okay.
go and
Okay,
work,
thank you, sir. Thank you for
with your
inviting
life.
and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Okay. So since they one thing that came into that time in mind is about how to be a supervisor. I mean, because this is a podcast for helping everybody. On a late, I will go and ask you about administrative one after this. And then because we have already been very, very late, but I hope to wrap up in next 40 minutes. One thing about is that, of course, I understand that I have seen several kind of supervisor. Being a responsible supervisor, you tend to ask them, you put them in a cycle like every monthly meeting, or if there is one when they need meeting, they can check. And one is the third kind is that you you leave them on themselves. You actually do not do what is needed for expected from you. I have no I don't want the advice for the other two people, but the third people who are want to be a genuine supervisor, want to make a difference. There is a fine line to become like that a monthly meeting has become weekly meeting. And when you start saying that, so there is a danger of becoming, how to say, am I harassing the scholar? That whether I am giving a more workload, how to handle that situation to not to be on the very right path.
I think that like everything else, it has two sides. Personally, I like to have frequent meetings, but I also give them the freedom to have meetings more frequently or less frequently, but at the same time, in order to help them stay the course, stay on track. It is important that the student has a little bit of pressure, mental pressure, so that the
Yes.
student is able to finish the work in a timely manner. If you give the student a complete freedom, then it is not in the student's interest, because research work has no timely deadlines. Research work imposes mental deadlines,
Yes.
but not the timely deadlines, because there are no examinations, there are no tests, there are no homework assignment. Through these weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings or 5-day meetings or whatever time interval you decide, I think it works more in the interest of the student, because then the student feel that there is a work to be reported, and it's just like preparing for an exam.
Mm.
And so in that sense, I personally tend to favor weekly or 5-day or
Mhm.
fortnightly meetings with a specific objective. It's just not meeting for the sake of gossiping, but
No, no.
the meeting with a very specific, well-defined task. And the student may not be able to do the work within the time, it's okay. But at the same time, at least the student will be able to show what the student has been able to do, what the difficulty the student has encountered, and the student has encountered any difficulty, then the student should be able to come and talk to the supervisor before the meeting, a day or two before the meeting. So I think also it helps the student develop two things. First, it helps the student develop a sense of time management, and also it helps the student develop mental discipline and a sense of commitment and responsibility. So from that standpoint, I would tend to favor weekly meetings or weekly conferences with with completion of specific tasks. Hopefully, that would be very helpful. It is not so much for the advisor, it is really more for the student.
Yeah, I mean, very much well said. I mean, I am a bit relieved because I asked a very question that is I have, and I was like, no, in any way, I don't want to be somebody who is like this, like, oh my God, this is because mm, there are two aspects of it, and you have said it beautifully that there is no exam. So if we will leave them, they are not going to come up with something. So it's important that we force ourselves in even many academicians. I would say that when they become professor and they are no longer they were a great student, but a failed professor. A failed professor, I can tell you that I don't need to make a bigger statement, but the point is that I see that many people are not meeting their potential. When they were a scholar, they were from very respectable institutes, and but they are not performing per se as a in terms of in terms of like new ideas. I considered lately, sir, I'm sorry to deviate a little bit, is that I think that a professor is also the journalists write a newspaper. It's based on them that how much they can write and when it is not needed that when, but because a money is associated to that, they more often than not they write the article. But that kind of only the promotion and those things are to that, and there is a segment of the scientist more is bad, like grapes are sour kind of people. They are those people who even they do not. I have 5 students. These 5 students in 1 year at least publish one, no matter if review paper or research paper. In later part of the time, they should publish two. That is my expectation. Is that in this world when reviewing becomes easy, very faster, writing becomes very faster, and everything. So coming back to that, the question is that, so then I should have 10 papers. And as a researcher, I am also a researcher. I am not a supervisor only. So one paper I should also write in a year, where I should be the first author or something. I can take help from somebody. But I make sure that I have at least one or two first author paper even every year. Because that is not going to a certain PhD, but it is an interface that I have not assigned to anybody, but my mind is working on that. So coming back to the question that I was saying, that so the first of all, thank you that you said that this is important. After you're saying it is very much the people will also try to know that this is for the benefit of the students, not otherwise. But other implication I have seen that a postdoc doing PhD from Germany, one postdoc already. And then I gave the workload and whatever and something, and he tried to quit 3 times in 2 years. And every time when he is quit, I and my wife will go to him and say that, see, this is all, but we love you, and we try to, and every time he decided to stay. And everything, and every now and then, whatever he gets success, he calls me and says, it's because of you. It's because you made me multitasking. It's because you made me the opportunities and create the opportunities and like that. So that way also this training converts to their benefit.
It is, but I can tell you, Manish, such people will never succeed in life. And I have more than my share of postdoctoral fellows who have been my students, and I offer them postdoctoral fellowship. They did absolutely nothing except making excuses. And my wife was a much better judge. She asked me not to hire them, but I wanted to help them. And then she told me, I told you before, but you don't listen. You get too emotional about helping. I said, yeah, I thought this fellow will be helped by if I offer him a postdoc. But such people have this habit of making excuses, not managing their time well, not managing their affairs well, and they are not stable. When they say, I'm going to quit. In fact, if I were you, I'll say them, I think it is good that you leave. Because there is no sense keeping such people. It is better to hire somebody. On the other hand, I have had some people who have helped only a little bit. They are far more productive. Far more productive. And because they have a passion for being productive, they want to accomplish something. Whereas such people, when they have no obligation except to do the work, they don't have to appear in any exam, they don't have to appear in any test, they are not subject to any kind of mental pressure, but they misuse the freedom that you are giving them.
Yeah.
They misuse the time which they have at their disposal, forgetting that it is in their benefit. It is for their benefit. The better they function, the better off they will be down the road. But then we have different kinds of people in this ecosystem. But I have long learned that it is better to say goodbye to these people and not to keep them, because they will, after 6 months, again, they will have the same excuse. I'm leaving. Yeah, then go ahead and leave.
Okay. There is a 2 aspect of it. One is that those people who felt it very pressure, and they try to say that and even pressure to the level that they say, I want to quit. But they persisted at that time. I mean, there is some weak period when. So what example that I gave you about the 2% who were feeling the heat and up to the level that they want to quit, but when I helped and talked, they persisted, and after that they are so grateful of having having gone through that training. But what you are saying, I also have such kind of experience when we need to just get rid of that. What is your suggestion to handle the lab conflict among your students? Some conflict between you and your student or you and your postdoc?
Okay, first of all, actually, I have had all kinds of experiences, but I never really had any conflict because I don't run a lab.
Oh. Yeah, model. Yeah.
Most of my students, I have had at one point 15 research scholars and postdoctoral fellows and graduate students, 15, sometimes 20, sometimes 10, sometimes 12, but they are all working on individual problems and they help each other. I actually, when I had larger groups, I would invite all of them, have a group meeting, and I would tell them, as far as I'm concerned, you are more than welcome to talk to each other, collaborate with each other. And I tell them that, look, guys, you are starting your career. If three of you work together and each one writes paper in collaboration with two other, then each one will have three papers in 1 year rather than having only one paper. So it is to your advantage that you work with each other. But some people like to work, some people don't like to work. But I tell them it is your choice. I'm not going to impose. Even if they are working on the same project, there is enough scope for students to work independently. So in terms of conflict, normally conflict arises for very simple reason. One person wants to get more credit for the work that person does. Another person says, no, my work is as important as yours and I must get equal credit. The conflict arises because of credit sharing. Unfortunately, people want more credit than less. And I tell them, put my name at the very end, even if I'm defining the problem, giving you the solution, put my name at the end. There is no problem as far as I'm concerned. But I also tell them that working together is just like the operation of a car. And I give this example quite frequently. I tell you buy, say, Rolls-Royce, which is one of the costliest cars in the world. You buy a Rolls-Royce, it will cost you $500,000. But $500,000, everybody looks at the shape, everybody talks about the engine, but people forget that if you take one bolt out, the car will not run. If you take one wheel out, what does that message say? The message says that every component in a car, just like a human body, is very important. You think your eyes, your ear, your tongue, your mouth, your brain are your heart, lungs, liver are most important. But even your even one tooth is very important because toothache can kill the quality of life. So that means every part of a human body is very important. Some may be more important than the others, but they are also important. Just like in a car, you take one wheel out, the car cannot run. It doesn't matter how expensive the car is. A plane cannot run if something goes wrong with one of the three engines or the wings. If the wing is not properly operating, it will not be able to dynamically balance the aircraft, and the aircraft will essentially die. So the point I'm making is do not disregard others' work or do not try to belittle others' work. In your mind, you think, oh, this is the most important part, so I should get the lion's share of credit. You are completely mistaken. Sometimes, and this same thing applies when you write a manuscript. Whenever you craft a manuscript, every sentence becomes very important because if even one sentence is wrong, the reviewer may not even bother to review after that. Similarly, reject the paper. And there are journals where one rejection will essentially kill the publication. It does not matter. Even if the two other reviewers say, no, the paper should be published. One rejection means not accepted, not acceptance, rejection. So the student must learn at a very young age that everybody's contribution is respectable and must be given credit. And this helps students in their long life. Respecting others and others' work is very important in life. The same thing applies to family relationship. Many husbands run into problems because they don't give credit to their wives. Many wives, if they are making a lot of money, run into problems because their husbands are not making as much money. And then they start having fights, and then they start basically going for divorce. The same thing applies to other relationships. The problem is people all should be respected. I think if they can learn this basic mantra of respecting others and others' work, then there will not be any conflict. Conflict arises, as far as I can see, is because of credit sharing. And sometimes people say, oh, you are not working this. I did so much of work in the lab. You are supposed to do half of the work. What difference does it make if you do 60% work, others is doing 40%? There might come a time where the person doing less work may end up doing far more work than you are doing. So things balance out if people are a little bit patient and keep a long-term view in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen it. I see it all the time because some of my students did not do much work, but the others are doing much better. So on the whole, it averages out.
Have you come across any thankless student or a
Oh,
scholar?
yes.
Like
I have come across a lot of thankless students.
whom you have cared and taught and saved in the during hard time.
This. Oh no, there are a lot of students like that I've come across, particularly from India and also from Mexico. And they are not even in touch with me, even though they were the ones who were most helped. But it's okay. But that's what I say. In life, this principle of averaging applies. But then there are other students who I did not really help as much. They feel most grateful and they are still in communication with me and they still want to work with me. So it averages out. It's okay. Just ignore them. My philosophy is do whatever you can to help others. Do not expect anything in return. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So then there is no.
It is not saying is easier. Doing is difficult.
No, it's not really. As far as I'm concerned, I don't
No.
think.
So what do you think? How do you? How do you make it less painful? How do you make it less?
I don't even think
less
about.
hurting?
They are off my radar screen, so I don't even think about them. I think about only the people who are working with me, who are in communication with me, who are in touch with me. They are the people who I think.
I have been taking it as like this, that okay, I was doing my profession, I was getting getting paid for that, and because I do whatever the work that I take, I do in a certain way with a certain quality. So yes, I did my duty, and if they don't want to be in touch anymore, it's fine.
No, but that is fine. But this applies even more to your relations.
Of course, it applies, but
so that is fine.
In relation, like we are expecting only from very near dear ones, and this is the one, and may not be professionally translating the life of others, but some of those students we touch upon, and our touch made all the difference, and they become something, and then forgot.
Yeah, but that's fine. But but those who were helped even little feel much more
Many
grateful.
times. Yeah.
Than those who you helped a lot but feel no
and
gratefulness.
Many amazing facts are those who are helped unknowingly.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Like unknowingly, like you don't care. Like I am one of your case where you don't. I don't know that how much you remember or don't remember, but you just followed a kind of your thumb rule that meeting me in China and those things. So, what do you think? Is it your regular behavior or something was you are able to recall?
I feel it's all part of your destiny. You do the best you can and not worry about, what others feel. You did, as you said, you did because you felt it was part of your duty as a human being. And there are many people, unfortunately, my memory is not as strong these days, so I tend to forget. But those people remember me, and even though even though I've not done anything for them, but for some reasons, they like me, they are very affectionate to me, and they care for me. So this is a compensation for those people who I help and don't care. On the other hand, those people who have not done anything care for me. So you see, this is averaging out. This is how the principle of averaging works. So I have a principle in life, and which the principle is the law of social goodwill. That if you do good to others, the good will return to you with rich dividends. Now, it is quite possible that the people who you helped may not return the help, but the people who you did not help at all will return. This is the way the nature works, or the God works, or the society works. So it is okay. There is no reason to expect anything of anybody. And, for example, you have been very kind. I did not even, honestly, I did not know until you sent an email to me. Since you raised that issue, I'm beginning to have some very vague recollection, very fuzzy, but not really clear recollection. So look, why? So something must have happened in God's scheme that you got. I didn't know, you got in touch with me, and then we started reminiscing, we started reconnecting. And if everything goes well, I might visit with you.
Sure. That is the
so you see how now there is no valid explanation for these phenomena. These are predestined phenomena, or these phenomena occur because I must have something good and you must have done something good. And so that is why these things don't bother me when people don't stay in touch. Also, you have to look at.
I mean, we should not feel like I am giving to A, so A will return. No, somebody will return.
Somebody will return. I'm witnessing it. Also, we have to remember, because we look at people who we helped and who are not in communication with us from our viewpoint. We do not know what their circumstances are, which is preventing them from maintaining their relationship with us. We have no idea what their family conditions are, what their conditions with their spouses are, with their children are, or with their job are. We do not know. So we still have to give them the benefit of doubt. All we have to do is wish them luck and wish them good luck.
I mean, at least I never curse them. I never want a bad thing. I never want bad thing for anybody, even for my enemy.
Exactly.
Even for somebody who intentionally can harm me. Even for them, I never think that.
I think it is better.
That is because I think that whatever will think, God listen and give me back.
Absolutely. No, I think, as
I
they
am
say,
thinking everybody is getting peaceful, and then they'll do the enmity. Enmity
and
is like
also, Manish, if you because we normally tend to view things at a very small time scale. You never know in your life when the same people might do something good for you. Even though
I do believe that.
So you never know, and at that time you will feel that I think your thinking was not quite right. These people are not, after all, that bad, and it is quite likely. And if they do, fine. If they don't do, they are off the radar screen anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It in this way is that if my grandfather used to say, if your number of enemies is increasing, it means you are progressing. No, there are no enemy of a dead body. So then it is fine. But then but from me, I think that okay. So it means sometimes it gets painful that, okay, somebody intentionally not accepting you or trying to avoid your work. We as a person being avoided is fine, but to the science or to like, let's suppose a certain in certain society should be and the cited and recognized. So sometimes when they will intentionally not cite you or intentionally not mention you, this makes you feel bad, but or feel little bit painful. I feel like I am blessed with so much good family and some other children, wife, sister, brother, society, guru, mentors.
No, you are right.
And
I see it all the time, but I ignore. It is better just not to worry about.
yeah, not to worry about. That is there.
Not worth worrying about these things.
If last in this advice of PhD, and of course, all the suggestions has been cross boundaries. Just one thing is your mantra of your being a teacher or being a supervisor, being an academician or scientist. What is your mool mantra that you follow?
Well, my mantra is really very simple, and that is you have to work hard. You have to manage your time, because the time is the only thing that is constant for everybody, regardless of where you are, who you are,
Who you
and
are.
so on. And you have to have a sense of discipline, and you have to have a sense of regularity, and you have to stay focused on your mission. For me, if I start on something, I will finish it and then move on to something else. And I work many times on several things, but at the same time, I have in my mind, I have a time-bound dates and time-bound completion dates that I like to finish. And so I think those are few things that I have always kept in mind. And so let me repeat, you have to be diligent, you have to be hardworking, you have to be dedicated, you have to be disciplined, you have to be consistent, and you have to be very regular, and you have to manage your time. Management of time is something that most people have difficulty with. And
So
because you have the same amount of time, but some people are 10 times more productive than other people. They are in the same profession, in the same department, and so on. It's all a matter of time management. It's not a matter of differences in their intellectual prowess or smarts. It's a matter of being diligent, hardworking, dedicated,
many
driven,
people
focused.
work smartly is the key. I mean, the hard work.
No
They
substitute
say,
for hard work.
hard work, but combinedly with a good planning or a smart
You have to
work
stay
is.
focused. You have to stay focused. You have to
I
have a
think
sense
difference
of
being
discipline.
created there because hard work, everybody can work 10 hour, 12 hour. That is maybe everybody can is maybe paying the same. But the difference is on the planning. Difference is on consistency. Difference is being diligent and like giving a thought that what is the next thing and like that. Well, on this note, but there are a lot of aspects of it because I heard many people saying that my hard work lead to my health problem and implications. Now I don't want to work so much. They complain about the losing on their. I mean, many things are there. So, aspect, we are going to start, but this marathon talk has already been ventured into the 4th hour of the conversation. So we will take a pause and then we will come back. But this phase, I would like to just highlight the most important or the two things. One is that that everybody should learn basic arts of their science. So the science is the art, and you need to know the art of the science. That is very much.
But also remember, Manish, remember, people complain that the their hard work is coming in the way of being healthy, which is completely ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. You have to enjoy your work. That is one thing. And second, you have to also keep yourself healthy. As they say, sound mind in a sound body. You have to keep your body sound. That if you are not maintaining good health and hard work is making you unhealthy, that means you are not healthy to start with. You are not really, you are not maintaining yourself. You have to, if you are not healthy, then nothing matters. You have to, in order to enjoy life, whether you are working or not working, you have to stay healthy. In order to stay healthy, health has 5 aspects, which most people don't understand. First is, of course, hereditary or genetical. There is nothing you can do about it, but there are 4 aspects that you can do. And the second aspect is dietary. You have to make sure that you take proper food consisting of proper minerals and vitamins on a regular basis. Don't eat too much. Eat as much as your body needs. The third thing is physical health. Dietary health, second, third, physical health. That means you have to maintain, you have to do exercises, you have to do yoga, you have to, and you have to maintain your physique, your health properly. The only way you can maintain it, you sleep well, you exercise well, and if you are Sanatan Dharma follower like I am, then you must do yoga and also. And the fourth one is your intellectual health. Intellectual health means spiritual health as well as your mind, mental health. Mental, intellectual, spiritual, I combine. That means you make sure that you keep your mind in good health. And the fifth one is environmental health. Environment means you maintain friendships with the people who give you energy or who do not take energy from you. Stay away from those people who sap your energy. The same thing applies to family relationships, relationships with friends, relationship with your colleagues. This is environment health. And also, like, do not engage in all kinds of undesirable orgies like drinking and so on. And stay in a place which has good health, good soil, good air, good water. Don't stay in a polluted environment. So these 5 types of health make a human being healthy.
Okay.
That's what I call health or healthiness.
Yes, we are going to talk about that, and also today you have used the term Sarvangini, so we are going to talk about that aspect also. So in our second part. So till then we are saying, and we will meet after a break.
Okay.